Ain't no last calls here.
Bar Talk with Jay.
All right, welcome to Bar Talk with Jay. Welcome. What I want to say is brought to you by Dispose LLC. Now we got this new website that's going to make it so much easier for you, because a lot of people say, man, I don't want to have to call somebody and talk to them. They just computer freaks. They just want to get on there and type it in, tell you what we thought about you, go to the website, and that's exactly what you can do. We got everything lined out where you can see it, understand it, and put in your order. And guess what? You don't even got to talk to us, but you'll be seeing B. You are one of us. We're going to make sure that delivery happens for you, and usually we're going to make it within a day or two. And only say a day or two, you can't call me at 12 o'clock, think I'm going to be there later on that day. That's not going to happen, all right? But I will get you the schedule, and we will take care of you. Where? At Dispose LLC.
Yes.
All right, now I got to get back to rocking with the person been rocking with me over 4 years, and I always want to know why this man keeps this smile. How you doing today, big baby?
Man, we doing good, bro. We doing
Still
good.
smiling, bro.
Yeah, man. You gotta keep a smile, man.
You do. Everybody can't.
Sometimes I don't feel it, Jay.
You don't?
No.
Okay, good. Because I don't need it. All right.
But I keep a smile on my face, right?
I mean, you droop it off on mine.
You gotta keep some light shining somewhere, right?
Yeah, I be slipping.
Yeah, we all do, man. We all do. But I'm doing good, man. Just grinding life. Got a lot of projects coming together, and everything's lovely, man. How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man. It's pushing and pulling.
Okay.
You know, you never know what direction things gonna take you, but one of the things I say, highly blessed and stay motivated.
Yes.
I see a lot of things in front of me through TV, media, but I really like all the opportunities that I see around me.
Yeah.
It's another time when you got to reflect back on life and realize, man, from where you've been to exactly where you're going. It's just a plan.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, man, I felt like I had to cut some more dead weight, bro.
Yeah,
There's just some more weight just keep throwing on me that ain't adding up, ain't going. And you know something, it's just that time that you got to realize, hey, you know something, to be the best, you just cut some things free and realize it's not about losing them, it's about gaining you.
There you go.
Anybody that can't see your vision, don't understand your struggles, then they ain't gonna understand your dream.
There you go. There you go. I love it, Jay. A great way to introduce ourselves. This is Bar Talk with Jay. My name is Craftmatic. This is my boy Smooth Jay.
Yes.
And of course, we are here to liberate your mind with great inspirational dialogue. We're going to have a conversation tonight, and we intend for it to be a deep conversation, one that's going to open your eyes to some things. And we're hoping that you can participate in this conversation from right where you are. Determine how you would deal with it, what you would do, give your opinion, listen to our opinions and our stories, and assimilate for yourself what is the most meaningful route for you and the most meaningful way to think about these kinds of topics. We try to get beneath the surface of things. You know, there's a surface life, and then there's the real life, and the real life is what we all need to be dealing with. What's happening in our emotions? What's happening in our head? How do we get this attitude, this way of thinking, in order to, sometimes save ourselves and sometimes move forward? So we just thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And of course, we always start the show off with a prayer. Not sure, Jay, if you want to do our
go
prayer.
ahead and hook 'em up.
Okay. So tonight's prayer, we're going to talk about productive living and no more pain. Productive living and no more pain. Not going to spend much time on no more pain, but when I reach for productive living, I'm alleviating myself of pain.
Let loose your pig.
No. Stop it, boy.
I'm just saying, believe yourself. Okay, my bad.
All right, and so let's just take it to the Lord. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being here with us tonight. We thank you for another great show here at Bar Talk with Jay. We thank you for continuing to inspire this show, to continue to deliver great product. And we ask, Father, tonight that you would open the doorway to our minds and hearts to a more productive living and no more pain. We are ready for progress, Heavenly Father. We claim it, we speak it, we give it to you right now, telling you that our entire desire is more progress. And in this route, Father, we ask that you would take us to the right roads. Not only strengthen us, but broaden the path beneath our feet. Keep us full and satisfied in our spirits, Lord. We're asking, Father, that you would clean up our lives. Dismiss those people and things that have held us back. And give us all that makes life full and whole and complete. Give us a fun-filled life, an exciting life with plenty of great times and memories. We're asking, Father, that you would give us a history of good living. We pray, Father, that you would be in this word and in this show and in this message tonight. May it be gratifying to your spirit. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Oh, I felt that, man. That's a prayer for me.
Amen.
That was my prayer. Appreciate you.
You like that, huh?
I like that. It hit home.
Yeah.
The warm spot.
Yeah. It hit home for me too, Jay.
Woo!
It hit home for me too. You see how I'm reaching for productive living in my spirit?
I heard
I'm
it.
clawing at it. And
It's tearing away, bro.
yeah, and I will get it. And I will get it. Boy, God is so good. He is so good, man.
Yes, he is.
You know, like
Yes.
Meshach and Abednego. You know, they was in the fiery furnace, right?
You gotta get your way out.
Woo, man. So let's move on to last week's topic.
All right.
It was a fabulous topic.
It was on fire.
It goes
was
like
on
this.
fire.
What leads people to sexual pleasures outside of marriage or when in a committed relationship? What do you recall from that show, Jay?
I like to say hidden agendas, selfishness, and they had their own desire to want to stay how they were regardless of what they committed to.
Yes.
There's some of the small things I gathered from the show alone. And again, one of the things I say that show, I say this show, please, if you just listen for the first time, I'm not saying all people cheat, man or woman. That's not what I'm saying, so don't come up with that craziness. My whole thing is we're just talking about the ones that do.
About 60%.
And the reason I want to say it like that, because all the ones that's not doing that, it's not a shoe that's going to fit you. But the bottom line, we got to have this conversation before I can fit all the ones that tend to want to keep on doing it, act like they ain't doing it.
Right.
Them the ones I'm reaching to tonight. The only reason I say that because I get a lot of people in the inbox and they want to be so rude to come out and saying what they don't do. That's one perception. And since that's a high perception on the other side, I need to push you to the side and talk to them. And you just understand it's happening. So maybe you can learn something too. Quit being so pushy. You know
It
what I'm
is
saying?
happening. It is happening. I saw statistics when I researched it. I saw statistics as high as 72% of married or a couple, committed relationships and marriages that were cheating. That's a high number. 60% is a high number. 50% is a high number, right? So there's a lot of it. And what we wanted to talk about was what leads people, what causes people to want to go out and get those sexual pleasures, or what causes them to open up to the idea that they need to or that they want to go outside of their relationship.
Mhm.
And we have determined, and I think the pivot point for me in the show, because I'm looking for rationale.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm trying to understand why someone would go out and cheat. And the crux of it is that it's selfishness, right? They decide to go against the committed relationship, right? And it had nothing to do with anything else. There may have been some things not going on, but you can't blame somebody else for what you do. They may have been part of the cause, but you didn't have to do it that way. You could have did it a different way, right?
Okay.
And so, he may be feeling the same frustration that you're feeling, but he's not going out. She may be feeling the same frustration that you're feeling, but she's not going outside the house. And so it really becomes an act of pure selfishness. But we never really talked about the reasons people go outside of the relationship. And I want to cover it right now if I could, Jay.
Man, go ahead.
Barb put together a list, and I'm going to go down it quickly, but I thought this was a magnificent list of reasons people go outside of a relationship. And it says that we found out that 56% of men and 34% of women who go outside of their marriage claim that they are happy. That says that there's a lot of married people, men and women, who are happy, but yet they still go outside of the relationship. And that's what Barb wanted to cover. It goes like this. It says lack of sexual satisfaction seems to be high on the list. You're just not getting it good enough at the house, right? And brother Jeff, not brother Jamal, always try to give us some insight as to how to improve your sexual satisfaction with your partner. Yeah, but if you don't, then he gonna end up getting in there and stealing your lady from you. So desires for additional sexual encounters. That's major. That there are desires for additional sexual encounters, And that's just what they want to do because that's what they're feeling in their bones, their spirit, their flesh. And so that's one of the reasons that people go out. Lack of emotional satisfaction. Brother Jamal talked about that a lot. Brother Jeffrey talked about it, that women go outside for emotional reasons and men typically go outside for physical reasons. And I'm not sure if that's quite accurate, but it certainly feels kind of right,
I've heard it.
Yeah, a lot of emotional, the lack of emotional satisfaction. Falling out of love with their partner.
I really don't think that should be a reason to go out and cheat.
It shouldn't be, but if you're not connected with that person anymore, you're going to go and cheat, right?
Or leave.
Well, leaving is hard for a lot of, for a lot of situations,
But cheating can land you out there and beat up in a way that could have been an easier choice.
For the people who get away with it,
I gotta get them in there. That's smooth. That's smooth.
Program, right? It's a nice program, but so they've fallen out of love with their partner, and now they decide to go out and cheat. That is one of the reasons people go outside of their relationship. They're seeking some form of revenge.
Like that.
There's a lot of shallow people in the world.
That's real shallow, bro.
But that's all they got. That may be all they have to work with, right? They may not have anything else except for that.
That's probably what other
right?
person made. That's all she had.
That's all she
got
had.
Bamboozled.
That's all she had.
That's it.
And she gave that away.
Yeah, and then you wonder why I have no reason to stay. You gave away the one good thing I thought she had.
Vengefulness. Maybe one person has been hurt by another and was caught by some other man or woman, at the right place, the right time, hearing their story, and that revenge thing, is kind of deep because it's really way, way, way underneath the surface. It's coming to the surface, but you really can't see what it is and where it's coming from because it's coming from such a dark place, from something that happened in the past. How about this? They're curious and want new experiences.
I can see a lot of people being more open to doing crazy things. Yeah.
I can see people wanting it, but to do it would be against the rules, right? And you would potentially give up your entire family existence. You would have your wife or your son or daughter or the brother-in-law knowing that you've been stepping out. You know what I mean? You really want that kind of life, So, that's not worth my curiosities. Not in my world, right?
Right.
Here's another one. They feel neglected, ignored, or unappreciated. The reasons that someone may go outside of their relationship is because they feel neglected, ignored, or unappreciated, right? And that means they become weak, right? They become weak, and in their weakness, they go out. And, sometimes you got to be real in life, man, that if you know you've been in a relationship that has been really, really challenged, and you found out that they have been cheating around, you got to step aside of yourself and say, damn, it has been hard. And they couldn't hold up. They probably love me, you know what I'm saying, but they couldn't stop themselves from going outside and getting something else.
Right.
And sometimes those excerpts, those cheating episodes aren't necessarily to leave your house. It's just to get a pressure release valve, maybe, right? It's just that, hey, I just want some time for me, and it just happens to be, in sex. But
it's somebody, okay,
right. Some other reasons that people, let me make sure I keep a whole lot of time here. There's some other reasons, 1 minute? There's some other reasons that people cheat. Let's see, have unrealistic expectations. Sometimes they lack maturity. They're just immature people, and they can't make grown folks decisions, and that's just the way that they see the world. It happens sometimes because we choose to. We just choose to.
I like to say that probably happens more than anything else.
Yeah.
Some people just don't look at the commitment and willing to gamble it just to get a selfish way of what they want.
Exactly right.
And I like to say that happens more than enough. So that last one hits home when I'm talking to different people about why they do what they do.
Right. Right. So, listen, it was an excellent show. We'd love for you folks to go back and take a look at it. We're all over the internet: Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Instagram. And so please take a look at our platform and really hear what we're trying to say. We're just trying to lift the spirit. We're just trying to give positive information and help people grow to become their greatest possibility.
That's right.
And tonight's show is titled Lack of Communication. Is it most relevant in a relationship? And I think that's an easy one to answer, but let's talk about the relevance of it, and let's talk about the dynamics of communication so that we can get a better understanding of where the mark is being missed.
I ain't gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us are. And boy, we got some good ones to cover here tonight. So I want you folks to stay tuned. I got some great music lined up for you. If there's any reason you can't hear the music, please just scroll forward about 4 minutes, and we'll be right back on the platform. And I hope you enjoyed it. We love you, appreciate you, and we'll be right back with more Bar Talk with Jay. Welcome back. That was a great set, man. That was a great set, that first segment. I love it. All right, we are here tonight to talk about a lack of communication. Is it most relevant in a relationship? How would you like to start the show off tonight, Jay?
I mean, lack of communication hits relationships, business. I see it all the time.
Right.
And again, it's not the fact that it's how you communicate.
Okay.
All right. That's one of the things we might want to really focus back on instead of just the non. The non sometimes speaks for itself. You ain't saying nothing, I kind of figure out where that's at. But again, then when you communicate and I ain't understanding you, that's where a lot of people get lost.
That's where a lot of people get lost. That's
do
exactly
a lot of
right.
talking, but you ain't really saying
You
nothing.
ain't really saying nothing, right?
So I don't
understand
even
what you're
care to
saying.
hear what you got to say, and now I'm disrespectful to you because I'm trying to take your voice, but your voice was never saying nothing. You never hit on any points. You just like to live in the past because that's all you was exposed to.
Yeah.
So all I got is your negativity, and I'm like this with people. I believe we all are positively charged. We choose to be negative. All right, might be from TV, anything else. So when you negative and you hit on another person and they already negative, y'all two right there is making a positive negative charge. Y'all are going to a place that I don't care to be. I want to take my positive charge and keep pushing other positive people because that's what we are. We're a gravitating force. But what I've noticed is a lot of people take communication and they find it in a way where they take it to a lower step than a higher step.
And I want to talk about that low versus high, Jay. Where are you going with that?
You always doing something, but I already know where you're going. I already know you are pushing you, family, and everybody in this direction. But I know you got this one bad habit that get on my nerve. Instead of me just kind of pushing that to the side and understand where you're going and just keep on pushing you in that direction, I'd rather find that little low and just try to keep you there. You know you're doing all those great things, but you know you can't even take the garbage out. It seems like, oh, you that good stuff, but you can't even do something simple. But I need simple stuff done. But you can do all this stuff for your friends, and you can make all this money for everybody, but you can't do nothing around here. So it's always a negative approach. When you already know you're doing big things, his mind might have got distracted. I'm not saying a woman have to take out trash or shit because he forgot. I'm just saying stay negative. Where you can still push it where you might have forgot the trash, but I know you had that last big meeting. I know you had to do some things. So now you hear it, and you know she kind of bitching, but she ain't. She's just letting you know. You probably, and it's up to you to take her, okay, I got it. No, it's just I want to put you down in front of everybody.
Put you down.
And that's where I say the negative charge, because I believe a person can be a positive flow.
Right.
As in you can take something simple and make something amazing. Just like I give you a little bit of food, you can make a hell of a meal.
Right.
That's how I feel like a person can be a positive charge, and that's what men need, more so a person is just there. And if you're a negative person in a person's life talking about, I can cook, I can clean, I can do this, and all I hear is negative things behind you, you are not a person I really need with me. That's not a positive charge. That's just a hindrance.
Right.
And I'm tolerating something because I felt like I don't want to be alone.
Right.
I've been alone for a very long time. I don't feel like I choose to be.
Right.
But the bottom line is, when I choose not to be, I want to be with a positive person that's going to charge us up.
Yeah,
in that way.
and think about the dynamics of communicating, particularly in a relationship. That as you're having these dialogues or you're in a discussion about something, that you have to really try to not say things. There are things that are going through your mind that you want to say, but you have to make sure that the first thing you said was, it's how you communicate, right? And so you may be thinking that, well, you were lazy, or you were passive, or you were this or that, but you can't say that. That's bringing the negativity that we're talking about, right? If you even introduce that, you create more negative, in the dialogue, right? So you have to find a way to keep your mind reaching towards some kind of positivity, right? And in communication, there's so many ways to do that. One of the things I think about is sometimes in my spirit, when I'm having a heated discussion or debate, I'll tell myself, be cool, right? And so what immediately happens is I lower my voice, I slow my pace, and I just woosah, right? And that helps me keep it positive, right? Otherwise, I'm still getting myself anxious and upset, and now I'm going to be saying stuff that probably is taken negatively, even though I may not mean it negatively. You may mean to communicate something. There's a message that you need to send to your significant other, but it will come out differently when you're calm than when you're mad.
I agree.
Right? And the objective should always be to bring it out in a calm fashion, not the mad fashion, right? But both will be saying the same thing.
One is going to be a little bit more foul.
Yeah, one's going to be a little more foul, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to slap them. It doesn't mean that you're trying to hurt them. It just comes out that way because you're heated, because you're excited, because you're mad or passionate or whatever it happens to be. That how you communicate piece is so important. If one person is trying to stay positive and the other person keeps going negative, there's a problem with that.
I'll give you a one real quick demonstration. I know a person that stayed calm, but they kept throwing knives.
They stayed calm, but they kept throwing knives.
So then when they hit me, I want to be calm with them, but you hit me below. You're talking about my children, all right? And you're going to throw daggers towards my kids, and then you expect me to get riled up. You about crazy because I'm the person, I'm the protector. Now I can understand you have your point of view about how I might have done with my kids, or you felt certain ways is how you do with yours. That's fine, but you keep throwing them daggers at me, I'm going to get loud. I'm not trying to be aggressively loud to be aggressively trying to handle you. I'm getting more in my feelings because, again, I made my decisions and I have to live with it regardless of what you might say. Just like you got to live with yours. But you over there calmly just kept throwing them knives. And I'm hearing them. And they cut deep because we got to remember, you know me.
Throwing knives, but they don't think you hear them.
Oh, they know. It's just when they hit, they how you respond is how they know. Now, if I stay calm, she will figure the knife didn't hit. So if she see you riled up, she know what she tried to do. That's why I said negative sparks or positive. That's a negative. You trying to get a reaction out of a person. And that's not what you want. That's a game you should never want to play.
That's a game.
Push a person into a greatness, not into a lowness. And that's what they choose because that's all the exposure they know.
Right.
You too big for me to be fighting, so I'm going to find ways to hurt you just with words. Okay, you can encourage with the same words, but right now you're choosing to be a foul person. But then when I get riled up, see, there you go, all like that. So, you ain't hear my voice get loud.
Yeah,
you didn't need to.
Yeah, you didn't need to. They were throwing darts.
Deep ones.
Yeah, deep darts on the quiet tip, right? And you said something real powerful here in the realm of communication. People who seem like they're trying to upset you, right? They're trying to push your buttons. They're trying, right? And you can easily tell if somebody's trying to just talk to you and have a conversation with you, or if somebody trying to upset you, right? You can easily sense where they're going in the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's another one of those things that breaks down communication, right? And I want to, we're going to talk here the next opportunity we have, I think maybe the next segment. Jeffrey coming on at 7:40. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we got plenty of time to do what we need to do, because there are these reasons for lack of communication, and there's some real good ones. We're talking about now what happens in the dialogue, and it usually is some form of negativity. People putting you down, people being smart asses, people being negatively charged, people trying to upset you. Whether it be personal or business, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
That's what I believe.
And, communication just really has to be, you have to put a significant amount of effort into communicating. It's not something, words don't just flow off your tongue, right? You have to think consciously about what you're saying and how it's going to be received, and how they're going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't intend on burning any bridges, you got to make sure that the message doesn't burn a bridge.
Try to.
You have to always be mindful of that in any form of fashion. I was watching a congressman deliver a speech one time, and he was lobbying for some bill.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could just see the rage in his face, but his words came off so eloquently.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? He was 38 hot over the subject, but he delivered the message with profound clarity and poise.
Okay.
And I think that's the position that we all should find ourselves in, right? That's how you better the communication. That's how you make it more effective. That's how you make it more receptive from other people. And so it's real important to how you communicate. The problem is that people oftentimes don't realize how they're communicating. And you said something real important just a moment ago. You were talking about how somebody was communicating with you, and they don't want to talk about the real issue, right? They want to keep dancing around the subject. They don't want to talk about what's really going on.
That ain't no surprise.
Yeah, that ain't no surprise either. Where we at on time, boo? I want to make sure. Okay, perfect. So,
I got one for you.
Go ahead.
So we got 5.
I didn't want to go down that lane. Go ahead.
I had a manager that I would like to say a close friend. His name was Rick Swing. Now, anybody know in the waste management days, Rick was the man. He was my DM, handled a lot of things. And when I came new into management, he took me under his wing, and he always told me certain things. And we had a lot of things going on. And Rick always said, you know something? You're passionate about what you do. And you over the guys. And one of the things I noticed is, if you really feel strongly about certain things, take it, write it up, put it in a drawer, and give it a moment. And I was like, why am I doing that? He said, because sometimes your feelings get involved. You got to get away from them and make a better decision.
Powerful.
Because at the time, you was emotional. You knew him, you knew the situation, you got a lot of things brewing. So write it up, so you already know how you feel at that time. Then relook it, because when you get out of that mode, you might see a better way of handling and delivering it. Because at that time, you might be pushing the anger of all what's going on instead of the clarity of what you really want to give. And that is always empathy and also teaching. And that way he'll always remember you for these small points compared to the point at which you got to deliver it because of the incident that he did. When he told me that, it's profound later on in life, because now I'm dealing with a lot more, but it's ways that people remember you. And that's what I want in a relationship. I want somebody to be able to get mad, write it down, understand what I did, and then look at it another way. That's another way of reaching me, because maybe at that time I wasn't understanding you. If you care enough, you will want to find a way to reach me. Just like I care to reach you. If I keep upsetting you, I'm going to have to find a way to deliver it better, or look at you and say, wait a minute, what am I doing? I can't just keep saying it's her. I'm easily say she crazy, okay? I say that quickly. That's only because I know the normal, and then I see ill-normal ways. That don't mean they're completely crazy. I just say that quickly, because again, I'm not diagnosed, I'm not a doctor, I'm just playing with them. And they get more frustrated because the communication is broken. We're talking, but it's not reaching each other. I'm saying things that she ain't trying to hear, and I'm hearing things that's not making sense to me. That's not good.
Yeah.
And you keep going down that road, I promise you.
Yeah,
you'll be confused.
You said something real good there, Jay. Don't deliver a message that you are not ready to deliver.
Yes.
And that's, when you say write it down, what it really involves is taking time to really, dissect it, maybe express yourself in one way. You suggested expressing yourself on paper, and now you can get it out. You got some clarity about it. Put it in a drawer and don't deal with it no more until the next morning. The next morning when you grab it out, you should probably have a different perspective, a much more light-hearted perspective on how you're going to deal with it, what you're going to say, how you're going to do it. And that's a lesson for us all. It really suggests that we need to take more time to prepare the messages that we're going to deliver. Because if you deliver those messages in the heat of the moment or when you're upset, you're going to disrupt the environment. You're going to say something that they didn't like. You're going to say something they didn't appreciate. You're going to say something you can't take back. You're going to say something that hurt people's feelings. You're going to say something that burns bridges. And, all of those things will continue to work against you until you find a way to apologize for what you said, right? But, set yourself up so that you don't have to make an apology, right?
I agree.
That plan those messages and, communication is not easy because we really have to face the person with the messages that we want them to deliver. That we want to deliver to them. We got to actually face them and say those things. And so it's easy. It's not easy. It's a task that is heavy on the heart. So we're suggesting, use your mind, write it down, take some time to think about it, and then deliver it. But deliver it with clarity, deliver it with purpose, deliver it with pure intention, and deliver it kindly. And you'll find that you might get a fantastic dialogue or communication going on with your significant other. It is time for us to take our next break, and I really love what we covered there, man. I got so much more good stuff for us. So y'all stay tuned. We're going to be right back right after this. Track, boy.
That
Woo, you just things on that track. I know you know what.
Hey!
Woo, welcome back, folks. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. These are just our thoughts, our comments, our opinions, our understandings of these situations. And man, we cover so much great stuff in that one segment,
We got so much more to go.
And we got so much more to go. And I don't know if you want to take off on anything that we just did right there, Jay, but I do have some pieces here that I'd like to talk about that just might help us understand the subject, right? So tonight, folks, we're talking about a lack of communication. Is it the most relevant in a relationship? I do believe we all would agree that it is the most relevant because it is the only thing that keeps us tied together, right? But when there is a lack of communication in a relationship, what are the effects? That's what I want to cover here. What are the effects? The effects of lack of communication is escalated conflict, right? When we don't talk, it gets hot. It really gets hot when we don't talk, right?
Yep.
A negative. Now, this is an important one. Another effect of lack of communication: a negative perspective of your partner. Right?
When it's a lack.
When you don't talk to each other, now you're left alone to have to deal with them, to have to understand them, to have to understand their point of view, etc.
Without their point of view.
Yeah, and without their point of view, and now you're kind of left unto an island. Right? And both parties, this is what happens when you're not talking and communicating, both parties are going to drift away from one another. It's a natural process, right? And so, that's the importance of communication, is that somebody's got to break the loop and try to bring the islands back together. Because if there's no trying, then you're never going to bring the islands back together. And it's always going to have to first be in some type of communication. Right? That's the thing that's going to draw them in, Get them to listen. Get them to want to communicate with you. It's so important. So when you're not communicating, there seems to be you get a negative perspective from your partner. Okay? How about this? Turning away from each other's attempt to connect.
That's usually when you're mad.
Yeah.
I had that.
That's one of the effects. Yeah, the effects of lack of communication is turning away from each other's attempts to connect. Right?
Like you started.
Well, here's the thing. You're having a disagreement, argument, some troubled times with your significant other, and you stop communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Now the two islands begin to drift apart, and when it's time for the islands to try and come back together, you may not be willing to hear them. You may not be willing to accept that an expression of love, right? That, you're still caught up in your feelings, but for some reason they were able to open up and try to bridge this gap of communication, but you still give an attitude, you still full of, and so, the lack of communication ultimately hinders each other's ability to even see the attempts to reconnect, right? And there may be various attempts to reconnect. If you're mad with somebody and you bring them a cold beverage, that could be your attempt to connect.
Oh yeah, that works.
Right?
Cold beverage?
Yeah, I ain't talking about no liquor.
Oh no!
I'm just talking about, it's nighttime. Hey, you bring your favorite snack in the room, at night. That could be an attempt to just say, hey, let's just chill. Let's have, but those are important. If you miss those attempts to connect, you could be missing an opportunity to bridge the gap. Right? Those are very important. Right? Another effect of the lack of communication is feeling unseen or unknown. You ever have that experience where you're mad at each other and you're just not paying each other any attention at all? You're not talking. It's quiet. It's stale in the atmosphere. Even if there's a third-party comment that comes out about the TV show, or something else happened, the friend said this or that, it really, you really feel like you're alone in those places. You really feel like you're alone in those moments, and it's not intentional. It's really a passive thing. It's what happens when you don't communicate, but you start to feel alone. You start to feel like nobody's there with you, right?
I feel you, and I'm right there with you, and I'm also get that feeling like, something, a lot of times when you feeling that aloneness, it's probably because you're really alone anyway. Because she ain't really with you. That's what the communication is. It's a gap, and it ain't being fulfilled. So your islands ain't coming together. They really drifting apart. And then the madness of the silence is when you have to determine, okay, is this really going to work or not? And when they give you an outpour of, okay, now, but you see no change, that's why you drift and act the same. And that's where this communicational thing comes, because the anger builds up of the same old thing. We keep arguing over the same old thing. And I got to keep listening to it. But I'm trying to pull us together. I really feel like your mouth is tearing us apart. If I got to keep hearing it, I don't want to build up on something that I can just start over with. But I don't want to quit. I don't want to be a quitter.
Right.
But I got to keep on dealing with something that ain't growing me, ain't growing you. It's frustrating you because you keep telling it because you want to hear me say something. I don't understand what it is because you keep repeating the same thing. I'm not going to keep apologizing. I'm not a sorry man. Right. I'm not going to keep saying sorry over something I make change.
Right.
All right? Because my whole thing is just saying I'm sorry. That's all you want. Then you a sorry individual for just hearing that one word with no change. It makes no difference. You are getting self-satisfied with a damn word with no change makes no sense.
With no change.
That's it. A cheating person. One of my boys told me one time. My wife got on my behind because I got caught cheating again. And she looked at him and said, so you going to say I'm sorry? He said, for what? I'm just going to keep doing it. Now, as bold as that was.
Ooh, that's bold.
You got to admit one thing. At least he up front and he honest. He honest.
That sounded like he had gotten to a point of frustration.
He was.
At that point.
But he gave something that he didn't have to take back.
Yeah.
Because his actions showed it. He finally lined up with an action that's being shown. So now you have to face it. You can't just denounce it. You denounced all the other ones. Now he's finally saying it. Sometimes you got to get shooken up because it seems like that's the only way you can understand. I don't understand that. I mean, myself, I would rather be able to have a dialogue and catch it without all that. But some things get more drastic, and that's why we're having this conversation. Because it's on the light end for a lot of people, and it can be on the deep end for some others. I don't know where you at. You know, this might not fit you tonight. If it don't, great. If it do, help somebody and listen. Because it's something that I'm not telling you to run away from. Just recognize, because if it's not going to work, then let's recognize, let's put it in a drawer. Always write it down. Because I want to make sure you understand exactly how you felt that day. This is you. And then put it in the drawer so you can look at yourself. It's really you. How you thought about it that day. Then you can see if it's another way you can approach it.
Right.
That's all that is. It's a business strategy that no matter what you want. If I want a Lamborghini, which I would want a Lamborghini in the truck world if I can make money with it, I got to sit down and figure out a plan of how I can get it. All right? And just because I wanted it that day, the next day I might have a better plan of financially getting it. Your wants and your needs, they got to come together to make your plan. And a lot of times, it's just a want with no plan, which is normally no action. Because you got nothing else to follow up with it. And that's my whole thing when it comes to relationship. I don't want to see you upset. I want to put in whatever might have happened, look at it in a way that I can give you communication back about me, what I want to do differently about that situation, instead of just saying I'm sorry. Because sorry just gets me off the hook. Yeah, I came in late, and yeah, I ain't mean it. I'm sorry. No, I'm going to do the same thing in 2 weeks, because we got another party, and I'm going to be out there all night long. Right. So I'd rather say I'm sorry to quiet you up, because I don't want to hear your mouth, than give you a reality that's really what you really want. Is the reality is I want to make change. I don't like hearing you. I heard you, and then, yeah, I'm looking at doing some things differently, and then doing them.
Right.
Problem is, we give whatever you want to hear, for I don't have to hear you no more.
I don't have to hear your mouth no more.
That's it.
That's it.
And like I said, now she's feeling like she's being silenced and lied to, and you feel like whatever it is, I ain't hearing your mouth no more.
Right. Right.
That's some bad communication.
And so, and that's what we're talking about, bad communication, right? A lack of communication. Another effect here would be loneliness, right? We talked about feeling alone just a second ago, but that feeling of loneliness really rattles through your whole spirit, right?
Okay.
Just think if you talk to your significant other 5, 6, 10 times a day, just, texting back and forth or calling each other, whatever, and now today that's not happening, you really feel like you're missing something. Right? You really feel like you're in a whole nother place. And maybe you're not even in a relationship.
Let's go to that real quick.
Yeah, let's go to that.
Let's go to that. I want to deep dive into that one, because one of the things I like to say is when I meet you, I'm so curious to know about you. I have so many things I want to talk about. 57 years of living. I got a lot to talk about. So we have a dialogue all the time. It's just helpful dialogue for growth. I'm not asking you deep questions on all you did with anybody. I want to know all how you felt through life. How you was when you was younger to older. So I have a lot to talk about during the day. And then during the day, my day go this way, your day go that way. So we're talking. She's frustrated when she called me. I got humor when she called. So she just had a rough day. And her friends gave her holy hell. I'm coming over here and talking about some of the stupid stuff that I had to deal with. The stupid stuff is to ease her thoughts of what she was dealing with. So now she wants to talk more because she's starting to get back happy. She was getting upset about other people that you can't control. I was talking about things that can't control, but it was going so stupid, I had to talk about it because now she's laughing. Okay? So now she gets through the day now by calling me because of the laughter.
Yeah, and let me kind of elaborate a little bit on what I see happening here with loneliness. That's exactly right, Jay. That she's gonna call you and kind of fill her gaps. That's what happens all day, every day, right?
Right.
It might happen 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times a day, right? You'll talk, and so your pattern is that you talk regularly, right? But when you're not communicating and there's a disconnect, the islands are drifting apart. You begin to feel lonely because now you're not having those conversations. And if that goes on too long, in my mind, the gap will get filled, right? that the gap will get filled, right?
You just got fired.
Yeah, like I know, I remember like Rocky, right? Rocky is gonna be on the phone. He's a phone kind of guy, right? And so Rocky's always talking on the phone. And so with his girlfriend, they're always on the phone. Every time I come around, morning, night, he on the phone with his girlfriend. That's what they do, right? That's their communication process. Nothing wrong with it, right? It's how they live. But if they had a heated tiff and stopped talking and didn't talk that day,
right?
In a very short period of time, Rocky gonna be on the phone. Right? He gonna be on the phone because that gap has got to be filled. That's his thing, right? And so the loneliness will oftentimes well up in us, and it causes us to do things that we shouldn't do. Right? Now I'm gonna have to talk to somebody else because I ain't got nobody to talk to. Just because you don't want to talk don't mean I don't want to talk. I want to talk. But because we can't talk, I guess we're left in this situation, right?
So you can say at that point you're willing to entertain somebody else.
Well, listen, that's when it can become easy to do so.
There you go. That's what I was getting at.
It can absolutely become easy to do so on anybody's part who's feeling that level of loneliness. You got to detect that loneliness and you got to deal with it. That's why you got to keep trying.
Right.
If you don't keep trying, then yeah, it builds up in both parties, and then the islands just continue to drift further and further apart. Here's another big one on the effects of the lack of communication: the lack of intimacy. Right? You stop touching one another, and when you stop touching one another, it also creates barriers, roadblocks, and it also creates doorways that you don't want opened. And so the intimacy is a great part of the relationship, especially if it's good and it happens often. It's there 70-80% of the time with the relationship, and all of a sudden you stop communicating, and now it's down to none. Right? That after a while, that's going to be taxing on the relationship. Right? For one party or the other. Somebody's going to be like, what the fuck? Right? Somebody is. We don't know who.
I tend to agree with that.
Everybody's going to try to be strong, but after a while, it's going to start to get difficult. It's, ultimately difficulty in setting and reaching goals by lack of communication, right? And so, that's good stuff, man.
It is, because I remember some times, man, and it seems like when we was trying to stay islands together, is your demonstration, and I wanted to keep the island strong, they came in the bedroom in a strong way. But the minute they was kind of mad, they came in with a bonnet. Now, I know you know about the bonnet, right?
I know what
yeah,
the bonnet. I know about the bonnet. I like the bonnet.
I did and I didn't.
The bonnet don't bother me at all.
Man, that bonnet bothered me because it's just the mood. Because she would never put the bonnet on until she mad at you and it's gonna come in early, right? Because before she don't care. Yeah. Because she just want to make sure everything is good. All right, not real spoil the children. She gonna whatever. But then when she gonna put it on to make sure her hair's straight. I get that. Right. But when she mad, that bonnet on early. Early. She do it on purpose. Yeah. And it's almost like a quick brain hitter. Like, oh yeah, we argued earlier, but she probably forgot about it, right? So now we want to watch our regular movies before we kind of settle down. And out the bathroom, this big old bonnet is there. Oh. That's like a catcher to me, Right. So now I gotta find ways to get that bonnet off. Cause see, to me, it's a mental thing of knowing
what you do. We gotta go to bed.
No. I want you to give me my advice when it goes to Eddie. Cause I'm gonna tell you at that point, I noticed, and then I try to find ways to resolve it. For the whole night won't be ruined because she let me know early on. That's why I didn't like the bonnet. It was
the bonnet off.
No. Oh, we gonna talk about this. If y'all just snatching bonnets off, I'm telling you now. I'm gonna give you some experience that you might want to learn from early on.
Listen, we gonna be right back with one more talk with Jay. Y'all stay tuned.
Welcome back with Bar Talk Talk with Jay.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Man.
Superb segment, man. The
It
effects of the lack of communication.
Yeah, but we got to get in real quick about this bonnet snatching on, bro. We got to get back to this one because this one right here got me in a whole lot of trouble.
I was just joking, man.
I know you was, but it wasn't no good joke
woman's
for
hair,
me.
man.
The women hair is no joke, but the bonnet thing was early on. She always showed me difference. So when she put it on, she automatically showed me that something different tonight. And that's not a positive thing because normally she put it on late, as in when we done. She gonna make sure her hair's straight. She do her thing.
Yeah.
So she
put
knows
it
the
on
routine.
early, yeah.
Right. So when it come on early, she trying to let you know something. So my whole thing is, I try to do your approach, right? I know I don't really like the bonnet, so I'm trying to snatch it off when we get back to a regular routine.
Okay.
But we didn't talk. I figured, just snatch it on off and just go back to normal.
Right.
It didn't work too well for you boys.
Yeah, because she had probably prepared her hair before she put that bonnet on. And that ain't what you can't do that.
No, what it was, she was prepared to talk to my ass about what pissed her off earlier. And I was trying to elude away to get back to regular self-pleasure. And
In other words, she wasn't giving you none that night, and she let you know right out front.
Yeah.
The bonnet says I ain't giving you none tonight.
The bonnet was an early on call. Yo, you better sleep over there, I'm over here. You done made me mad.
Listen, that's some form of body language.
It is.
Right?
And
That's a communication.
I didn't like it when I first realized it, because I'm like, just take that thing off. We gonna go on back to the rest. And then that's when the conversation started immediately.
Right.
Even with the bonnet off, it ain't going back to what you think it is.
Yeah.
We gotta handle this, and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now I know what the bonnet mean, right?
Let me see if I can try this. Why when you buy her the kind of bonnet that might turn you on?
It wasn't the bonnet, whatever turned me on. It's the things we did without the bonnet.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, take the old bonnet and put the new bonnet on and see if it might change the atmosphere.
I think what it was, she realized I didn't care for the bonnet one time before.
And she used it.
And so she always used that as a quick reminder of things I was doing. So she did it to annoy me because it automatically made me be like, what now? Why? You come here like Betty Boop. What is you doing?
Listen,
why?
That is so perfect to the segment because we're talking about the lack of communication, and that is pure communication.
It was, but it was a lack of being responsive to earlier texts. I was trying to get you. You act like I didn't mean anything. So by the time I get there and I'm acting like all lovey-dovey, like, yo, don't worry about all that crazy day, this, that, the other. She kind of gave in and she let it be. She let me speak, all the rest. But when I thought I was going to bed and going to regular, she threw the bonnet on. Now see, the bonnet is just a reminder for me. It ain't for all men. So men like you, no matter
It
the bonnet
happens
or
a
not.
lot. It happens a lot in households.
You gotta know the woman.
Yes.
So I had to start knowing that is something that she's trying to let me know it's a problem. So she put it on, and she really just want to have a conversation, but she'll put it on and just sit there with her arms folded, waiting to see if I'm gonna say nothing. Now at first, I was like, I'm just gonna wait it out, because it's just easier that way.
Yeah.
Found out that's not the best way. One of the best ways is not taking it off. It's about grabbing her and making her understand. She don't want that bonnet on.
Yeah.
So the more I start talking to her, the less I start seeing the bonnet. The whole thing, she's getting my attention.
Okay.
And she used the bonnet because the bonnet was one of the things that I just didn't like. And I didn't like it just as a, one time we done, she had to get up and she had to do her hair a certain way and then she put her thing on. At that time, I didn't care. I was going to sleep anyway.
Right.
But she always said, I got to make sure my hair's straight for the next morning.
Right.
So you already know early on, you throw the bonnet on, you be like, hold on, that's way too early. You used to do that late at night. She changed up her ritual. She used to always tell me, you change up all the time. Now when I change up, I bet you don't like it.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't lie. I sure didn't.
Changing rituals is a good way of, that's one of those things that happens when there's a lack of communication. Just because I've been in several, at my age, been in several relationships. That we won't ask your number.
Well, I gotta get a copy.
But I have seen that it's not only bonnets; it's all kinds of things. But in my world, if there was a problem, she comes to bed with clothes on. Right?
Oh,
she'll have a t-shirt, she'll put on whatever,
That's how,
and on a normal night, she won't put on nothing.
Right.
But on these particular nights, there's I'm telling you right now that it ain't going down, or it looks like it ain't going down unless something unique happens. And that is a form of communication, but it still doesn't, it's passive. It's passive aggressive. And that was one of the communication styles that, still upset the environment. Passively aggressive.
I say that all the time. Crap, I got the same rule. My rule is simple. If I date you and we talk before we ever have sex, just understand, don't get in my bed with clothes on. At least it's that time. Everybody got their little, but I'm talking about, if you get in my bed, you ain't getting in with no clothes on, at least we just sitting watching the movie, and I got a couch for that.
Right.
So when we sit on the couch and we watch all that, would you get back there? Back there?
Right.
This is understanding. This one of the understandings I want to make sure it's clear. Buying it, none of that. It's just how Adam and Eve was before they bit that apple. You don't think of no clothes, ain't gonna be no clothes.
Right.
But again, you gotta keep a person in that thought process.
Right.
And that's when they get there, I'll never forget one time somebody got in my bed like, oh shoot, I forgot. Never had to say that. They wasn't getting in fully, but they was getting in because that's how they sleep. They always sometimes they sleep with their underwear and t-shirt. That's just how they always slept. They never slept naked. They was never comfortable that way.
Right.
My whole thing is, after we done, if that's what you have to do, it may be. But bottom line, when you get in this bed, this is how you get in. So when you set that principle rule on upfront, it's amazing how some people respect how they want it to be. So they get in how they naturally used to be. But they will adapt real quick back to you because they care enough to remember what you said. Right. That right there is just like music to my ears. Because then you show me I mean something. The rules that I set forth is because I always want to be close to a person, and I don't want to always close between us. And that person want to be so close to me that they honor that. Even though they're not comfortable sleeping that way, it's not what they're used to. Right. But I'll do something different for you. Hey!
You silly boy.
Whatever.
Silly, right?
Don't act like y'all ain't did it.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about the effects of a lack of communication. Mm-hmm. There's two areas I want to cover that we have to cover before the end of the show. Okay. And one of them is, what does bad communication look like? Mm-hmm. And what are the reasons for a lack of communication? Okay, and we can start anywhere you like, but I'm leaning toward what is bad communication, because if we don't have an opportunity to see ourselves, we'll never make a change, and that's what this list is about. Am I doing these things? If I'm doing these things, then I need to try perhaps something differently. Okay, criticizing or belittling other people, right? That causes more damage. That is bad communication.
I've done that.
Okay, and you had it done to you before,
I've
right?
had it done.
And when it's being done to you, all it does is just upset the environment. All it does is make you more mad. All it does is put more distance between the islands, belittling one another with smart aleck comments and name calling. It's just immature. It really is. Criticizing and belittling is really just immature, right? Sometimes what a person may say may sound like they're criticizing, but they may just be attacking the issue, right? Yeah. There's a difference in the communication. There's attacking the issue, and then there's how you feel about the issue, right? And oftentimes criticizing comes from not really attacking the issue, attacking the person.
That's it.
Okay, so it's not good. Getting defensive. Right? That's bad communication, is always being defensive about your point of view, or I know that you cannot sit. It's almost impossible. Think about this. It's very difficult to sit in a dialogue with somebody and they're saying something that you absolutely disagree with, or you think is an absolute lie, or you think is absolutely preposterous. It's very difficult to sit and listen to that, right? But for the sake of communication, one has to, put themselves aside and, open the door, right?
I'd like to say not necessarily a door that they care for. One of the things I would probably listen to your lie is to get receipts. Because a lot of times when people give me information and I know it's information that has not been researched, it's probably something that you heard and I hear it, I automatically flag go up. because I might have had some information that counteracts what you're telling me. So I want to get the receipt of all what you're talking about at this point. Now, I am not really listening to give you great points. It is to tear your behind apart. Because I want to make sure you understand that I don't see things like that. But the best way of doing it is getting the information from them to give it back to them with receipts on why I'm telling you this is something you might want to see. You want to look it up a little bit better.
And that's, you gotta really be listening to,
at that point
receipts.
I have to, because I'm getting more offended. Because like you said, I already know you're lying to me, or you're repeating a lie. Now, at this point, I almost want to educate you. Remember, my boy told put it in your drawer, but this was going to be a short drawer. Because at this point, I want to write down a lot of the information you're giving me that's more false, so I can give you more things that I know factually that you might want to go look at and see for yourself. Because what you're giving me is some rhetoric that somebody probably told you. That got to stop. Because it's not helping you. You're spreading ignorance. I don't want that, and not even for you. But my whole thing is, why don't you check out more stats?
But see, the person who's spreading ignorance don't know that they're spreading ignorance.
That's just it. You don't have to let them continue.
Because they don't stop.
If you at least start paying attention, some people just want to stop you. My whole thing is stop and find out, hey, that ain't gonna work. Reason why is keep on doing it. My whole thing is they around me.
Even if it ain't gonna work, they feel like they still want to say it.
They can't. They just won't be saying it around me. I always feel like if you give a person an opportunity, you might see change. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't know, and they ain't got exposed to somebody that's willing to call them out, they'll never change. That's the exposure level. This is what everybody did. My auntie did, cousin did. So my whole thing is sometimes you got to bring a little things to some people's attention. And sometimes it opens them up to want to gravitate to something better. You just don't know. But to leave them in that ignorant state is where they want us to leave people. My whole thing is if I can enhance you a little bit, because I don't feel like I can enhance you too much, because it's going to be up to you. But if I can show you, hey, that right there, what they just said, bro, they told you totally wrong, but you can go over here and check it out for yourself. At that point, I really only gave you a small seed that you're going to have to go back and feed. Take the seed, go check it out, and then you might want to make a decision. Do I want to keep in this circle of ignorance and keep spreading it, or find out there's higher things? That's where the negative come from.
Yeah, but
I love it. Somebody always talking. This is what's comfortable, because remember, I like negativity loves company, right? So you bring this negativity. Oh yeah, I got this. So now all these people over here speaking this negative. I don't got to speak to all of them. I can only speak this to this one on the end that's close enough to me. If I can say, you know something, that right there ain't even good or cool. I wouldn't do that. But I'm going to tell you some things right here, because the stuff they're saying is so offline. Check this out. Now, that one person might be a positive vessel to walk away from this negativity, because I'm telling you, everybody wants you over here. Over here ain't going to even get you where you want to be. So you derail from your passion and your purpose, listening to this crap, and you all off track. And that's where you want to stay, because you're comfortable. Nobody's asking you about all the stuff that you ain't good at. They ain't pushing you where you scared to fail. They ain't challenging you. They keeping you stagnant. People love to be stagnant because ain't nobody seeing all the flaws in me. All I know is they ain't questioning me. I'm good. Being questioned and challenged also help you.
Yes.
Compared to being a negative. No, it's a negative when you don't want to change. You want to stay stagnant. Then stay your butt over there. Cross the line and you will understand when somebody challenges you, it's only to better you. If you just look at this and this, I'm telling you, you might see something different.
But what people do is they get defensive.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Because they don't like it.
Because they think that what you're saying is maybe a stab at them. You throwing a dart. But what you're really trying to do is help them. You're really trying to get them to see something else.
But remember how
they are, purely on the defensive side.
But when you come at them and you don't come defensive or come with all shields up, and you come with a nice calmness of how to look at something, at that point, that's just up to them. My whole thing is somebody's telling me some factual good stuff, and they just come in with a smooth voice and just telling it to me. It's hard for me to be defensive to a person that's trying to give me knowledge and then not come in an aggressive manner. If they say, you know something, I hear you, but what you're telling me, check out this, and I can show you something. At that point, my defense is going more down because it is something I have to open my mind to. We closed-minded a lot of times because people make us feel more comfortable being closed-minded than being open. I don't want to say that because it just causes problems. Well, I found out that a lot of times the problem is me. So I learned not to speak. So when I get around certain people, I can't say nothing because I don't want to disrupt nothing. if you notice, man, when I come around certain people, they be like, all right, Jack, check it out, man. Don't say, don't go. My whole thing, they already know how I am. You ought to be able to speak out where somebody can give you hints and, hey, this is the crowd, it is like this. And again, I don't even get defensive about it. When somebody said to me, it's like the time we talk about sidebar stuff, and you tell me, all right, Jay, that's a little too deep, that's too deep. I don't ever get offended. My whole thing is I have to look at the audience and how people might perceive it. And then I'm going to look at it in a different way and come at a way at the end of the show, you be like, all right, you heard me. My change is for the people. It's not always just change for a person. My whole thing is you got to look at things in a different way. How you deliver going to be up to you. But the bottom line is, do you at least care to hear what somebody's saying? And defense comes from when you come at me in a way that I feel like I gotta be threatened.
Yeah.
You never come with a threat. You always saying, watch out for this. So you always want to listen.
That's good. If you come at somebody with a potential idea about how they need to change or how they can see a situation, and you come hard, you talk down to them, you ridicule them, they have they have no choice but to be defensive, right? So how you deliver that message determines how much receptivity you'll get, right?
I agree.
So listen, that's good stuff, Jay. It's time for us to take another break. Yeah, it is that time, and I want you folks to stay tuned. We're gonna be right back with more Bar Talk with Jay right after this.
Back with Bar Talk with Jay.
Yes, man, we're covering some great stuff here, man.
We are. One of the things
stuff.
I always want to say, if it don't fit you and you feel like this is something that you ain't going through again, it's just not going to fit you.
Well, it's don't fit everybody, because everybody who's in a relationship needs to be thinking and considering these types of avenues
before they go to the deep end.
Right? Relationships are failing left and right, and nobody's ever taught us how to communicate in a relationship. Nobody's ever sat us down and say, this is how you communicate in a relationship. Here's the textbook on communicating in a relationship. And so we're all ebbing and flowing and just trying to find our way, right? This is the kind of dialogue that if you have been or are in or going to be in a relationship, you are going to face every single thing that we're talking about. You're going to face a conversation with somebody where it seems like there's a lack of maturity, where it seems like there's a lack of expectations, where it seems like there's they're trying to be vengeful, where they're not emotionally satisfied. Everybody's in a relationship going to experience these things, and we hope that these conversations are adding value, at least giving you some insight as to what may be going on in your own household. You can love someone to death and still not know how to communicate with them.
Correct.
And so communication is broken down by so many different barriers. It's just good to talk about them, okay? So as we're talking about, folks, the title of tonight's talk is Lack of Communication. Is it the most relevant in a relationship? And absolutely it is. And I want to just share, we've been talking about so many innuendos of negativity that is sent throughout communication, right? People putting you down, being a smart ass, trying to upset you. That happens in a certain way. And this is universal, what I'm about to share with you, right? Okay. This is how a message is delivered to someone that you're trying to deliver a message to. That only 10% of what you say, are impacted because of your words.
Okay.
Only 10% about its words. 30% is the tone of voice. Ooh. This is general standard communication. Only 10% happens through words, 30% happens through tone of voice, and 60% of communication happens through body language. You know that they heard you when they nod their head and they start to agree with you a little bit. You can see that before they ever say anything. You can hear in their tone of voice if they're sincere. if they're being a smartass, if they're, trying to keep their composure. You can hear in their words if they're trying to be hurtful, if they're trying to be helpful, if they're trying to be understanding. And so as you're listening to people's messages, if somebody says, I love you, and it really just sounded like a cold I love you. It sounded like a cold I love you. The other person felt like you didn't mean it.
No, I'm not feeling
This is a very, very extreme dynamic in the communications, and this is the way it happens across the board. I used to teach this in corporate America, and so I know that if you are trying to communicate something sweet to me, but you may have a harsh word, those words impact me, but not as much as how you're delivering the message. If you got a frown on your face, if you got attitude in your voice, or if you're nonchalant and you're detached from me, all those things make a difference in how I receive that level of communication.
Now, I totally agree with you because, again, I had to deliver a lot of speeches and I had to teach a lot of people. And I learned body language and communicating with them with eye contact to see who I'm losing and who I'm gaining. And again, the more interactive and the louder I got with the passion points, not the whole thing, but passion points, made them know more in tune on what I'm trying to deliver. And I've seen that. So I definitely agree with you with that.
Yeah.
But when you mention love, it's one of the things that also impacted me because I heard a person saying love all the time, and I had a person always saying that to me. And it don't always hit home because the person that said it showed me least. So now the word didn't have no power. So now when I get with a person that's trying to show me differently, they're using words, and unfortunately my past did not give me a lot of great response behind it. So now this person is looking for it and they want to say it all the time. Now I'm non-responsive. It's nothing more that I don't look for the work, I look for the action.
Yeah.
Because that person didn't show me the action. It ain't your fault because you didn't date me then. I dated a person that showed me some illness of the word with no action. I heard it all the time. But your actions didn't follow up with nothing. Everything you said you didn't do, but I love you. So now the word meant less to me. Now, the other person was trying to show me and say it all the time because that's what she needed, okay? It's nothing wrong with what she was doing. My receptors picked up on words, but it picks up better on your actions.
It picks up better. What you say speaks way louder than what you say.
Because of what I've been through.
What you do, your actions speak way louder than what you say.
Because of my past experience.
Yeah.
And it's not her, it's me.
Well, no, it could be your past experience with her, right? It could be some things that you have experienced through her that that speaks to the message. So know this. Just trying to help people understand. Breaking down communication. 10% happens through words. 30% of the communication happens through the tone of voice, and 60% of the communication happens through body language. Okay. Now, when you're on the phone, 30% happens through words, and 70% happens through tone of voice. Right? And now we got to even dissect it more because now we're talking about text messages and how those messages might come across. You have to be really, really protective of the person you're trying to communicate with when you're texting, because it's easy to take a message wrong. It's easy to misinterpret or get misunderstood when you say things to a text message.
I'm 50 years old. I am so damn tired of Googling. I gotta Google all these small words.
Oh, the shaking my head.
The shaking one I figured out a while ago. Some of the other ones kind of easy, but now they got so many now.
Yeah.
I have to hold up. Let me go look. Then I say, okay, now it makes sense because it's so abbreviated that I'm thinking one way, thinking about how I abbreviate a word compared to really the antonym or what it's that. I don't be knowing it all. So I used to call my daughter all the time, what does this mean? So luckily she's like, Daddy, this Google. Right. Google show you that, because she got tired of me. Because again, in text, I don't want to take things the wrong way. So if it's a word and I'm not understanding, just like anything else, I need to make some understanding of the word before I can make sure the whole sentence makes sense to me. Or if not, I'm going to exclude the word and try to make sense of the rest, and I can still be off. That's all it is. And that's what I feel like what happens, not just in text, but in things that we do. And I should never get tired of trying to figure you out.
Right.
But you keep giving me small dialogue when I'm giving you it all. See, that's one of the things that kill me. I give you a text and I spell it all out.
Right.
This is how I communicate to you. But you give me shorthand back.
Right.
I have to adapt to you. So now I gotta go Google stuff for you. But that ain't what you have to do for me. Because mine wasn't no smiley faces, wasn't none of that. It was just straight words about what I need or what I was looking at, how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My emojis, I might throw a little one in there with a little funny or a party thing, but it's gonna be on the smaller end. But what I get,
I recently, and you're familiar with this, I recently had an opportunity to experience one of your dialogues on text message.
oh, okay.
And I noticed that there were darts being thrown at you,
Hell, I was all in my back.
but you never acknowledged the darts,
Ooh.
right? And there was like, half a dozen communication went back and forth, I could see. But you never acknowledged the darts. You kept coming nice. You kept coming, inclusive. You kept coming helpful. And that was very interesting to see. Perhaps you've been down those roads before, but, very interesting to see. At a certain point, we're going to talk about the reasons for the lack of communication, but at a certain point, we got to start to figure out what we need to do to communicate better. Right? Think of yourself, your sense of self. If you're listening to this right now, yourself. What are you going to do? What am I going to do in order to communicate more effectively with my significant other? Because communication is the primary reason these relationships are breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Messages are not being delivered, and they're not being delivered effectively. Okay? That means, there are probably some things you need to say, and you ain't saying them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say them, you got to say them right.
I agree.
That's what it comes down to, right? And so I'm thinking, just a couple of words that just might ring in anyone's head who's in a relationship going through communication issues, is that it requires patience and understanding.
Okay.
And patience is that I can control myself so that it will not hinder the other person. And understanding is that I will get outside of myself and see it from their perspective. And it's not easy to do. It takes a big person to do that. It takes a big person to stand in another person's shoes and and see what they're going through, what they've been through. And I have been through very recently just situations where I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I know this is tough for me, but it's got to be just as tough for her. And so, as empathetic as I can possibly be, I can't quite get over there. So I just get quiet, right? Because now I'm helpless.
Right.
I'm hopeless. I don't know. Anything I do, anything I say might disrupt the environment just because it's so hot. And so, it's important that we just all begin to practice a little more patience and a little more understanding. And the other thing it comes down to is effort. At a certain point, when there is a lack of communication, because sometimes the things you've communicated about them many times before, it's easy to turn off. It's easy to just run from the conversation. It's easy to just say, I don't want to talk about it and not deal with it. But if your significant other is wanting to talk and introduce it, you have to gird up strength in order to at least give them an opportunity to participate at the level they want to. That is understanding. That is the understanding portion of this. That it's not just about me. It's not just about me. It's about her too. It's not just about him. It's just about her. It's about him too. And so both parties are going to need to be practicing this. This obviously this patience and understanding, but even more so, it's got to be effort. There's got to be you reaching out to the other person, saying, let's talk, even if it ain't about the issue. There's got to be something that can keep you glued together. And if that's not entertainment of some sort, maybe just going to dinner when you're mad at one another. watching a movie together. Maybe that's just holding hands and not saying any words. Maybe that's writing a note to one another, you know. But if you allow the communication to break down to the degree where you're not communicating, then the islands are truly going to be in full effect.
No, they're just two separate islands.
Yeah, two separate islands.
We ain't no land. When
Yeah.
two islands come together, we made one massive land.
But when you care about the relationship, you can't do without the other person. So you gotta reach. You gotta always be trying. You gotta always be effort. You know, there's somebody who may be going through a challenging part of their relationship right now, who needs to hear that no matter what, they've always got to be willing to get off of their seat and try. No matter what's going on, if they want to continue that relationship, they've always got to be willing to try, right? And there's so many different ways to try. I can't even begin to, to embrace all of those ways. But there's thousands of ways to try, you know. And the little steps wind up being bite-sized steps, wind up being the whole meal sometimes if you can open those doors. So opening the door of communication is key to breaking through a lack of communication. You know what I mean?
I would say yes. And also one of the key things I usually do is when it breaks to a point where we're not communicating, I like to tell a person why I see things in them. Where I can break down things we've been through, that she knows that I paid attention to some things that she did that I actually admired. Now, she didn't ask for it.
Yes.
She mad at me. They're like, I don't even know why we deal with each other. You know, you doing it, and you don't care for me. And be like, well, you know something, I really care for all the things that you do for others. I noticed that you do this for your kids, and I also noticed the things that you do for your mom, and then how you keep the family together. Even though the family always seem to push against you, but they always ride with you.
That's strong.
They got you, but unfortunately, it seems like you are out there on the island by yourself.
Yeah.
Never want to see you just by yourself. Just understand I'm here and I'm understanding. When I say this to them, it's to encourage them. This is why I said you got words to hurt and then words to encourage. It's up to you. She already mad at me, so it's real easy for me to throw daggers back. It's like you told me. You seen the text where they was throwing knives, okay?
Yeah.
Throwing them back is just gonna make a dartboard. My thing is, I don't have to add back. I can add value too. Add value in the positive end. If they want to keep it on the negative end, then you already know that that might not be the person for you.
Right.
Now, if they just mad, I'm not asking you to quit. I'm only asking you to pay attention to why they mad.
Right.
And if it's something that you can make change to, because everything ain't worth changing.
Right.
You can't give in to something that don't make sense. You can be mad at me all day long over something I might have said. But bottom line, don't make me change my care and my love for what I've been going forth with since earlier in birth that I feel like I need to do for your self-pleasure.
There you go.
I ain't doing that for a person when I'm looking at a bigger picture.
There you go.
Period.
And it's time for us to take our final break. We're going to come back and try to wrap this show up. Folks, stay tuned. We're going to be right back. More Bar Talk with Jay.
Welcome back with Bar Talk with Jay.
Welcome back.
Now, this one, we're going to have a little bit of fun.
Okay.
Tell you that when we sat down real quick. The reason why is a lot of times when the communication and things cause a lot of problems is you got to remember how you meet somebody. You have your own thoughts. And a lot of times when you're in your thoughts, you're not really listening to what they say. So now anything I might say to go against what you really want, you're really not going to pay attention to. Because you already had a thought about where you want to be, where things should be. One of the things I'm going to tell any woman, y'all are an adding factor. Y'all are some positive people when you choose to be that can add so much more value to anything that you touch.
Right.
Like I said, give you food, you give me a meal. But one of the things what can turn you is when you're exposed to something more negative, now you're not going to be that positive factor that you can always add to. If it's something that you just want and you feel like I can just get it, you can also be pulling it out of a person that's not adding value to the person. It is about a self-need compared to a us. It is about you. And that's where you kind of deal with people and you got to watch folks because you want to say everybody got the great intent of bringing the best out of you,
They don't.
but they don't. They got some selfish intents because they really want to know you. They want to think you good, but I've been hurt and I already heard all the stories. It's not about playing, it's about understanding. If somebody ain't showing you things that was happening in your past, why don't you have a better understanding and being more open to expose yourself to being able to be real, but most people are scared to be hurt. That right there is a dialogue of destruction. When you ain't willing to grow to realize that some things ain't gonna always be your way, but I can expand with him and I can grow with him, lets me know you're not the person for me. I'm seeing a vision higher than what you ever gonna see. I can only explain on the ground level some things. I can't express some things is just on a different vibe.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is why I'm just talking to you, but I'm showing you positivity and I'm showing you some things, and then you showing me you. I'm not trying to make you a positive vessel. I'm just trying to make you a good person. Because a positive vessel might not even be in you, but when you're around me, let's just go with the positive vibe. And while they we're doing good. By later, you might choose to go back to what you was. At that time, we didn't really lose anything. We was just good friends. We tried to make it. It didn't work. It's all good. Some people hate that fact alone. They don't want to lose a good person, but you ain't even right for the person. So now I'm willing to fight for what really ain't even a right. Why would I have any rights to a person that you already know we won't go in the same path? You don't see me like that, but because of money and wealth, that's evil. Okay? If you ain't adding value to gain, then why are you holding on? Because I don't want the other endless roads that's down here. They don't have to be endless. You can add value and make some endless positive. They can change their direction if you keep it in you. That's what you have in you, but you want to exert some other things that's been shown to you. Why? Who in the hell told you to be that way? I just want you to know, wake up, because you are that strong queen that they keep talking about. We do not need to be that negative vessel that they want us to be.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Let me address some of that, Jay. That's really, really good stuff. You know, you're in a disagreement, right? Lack of communication comes when there's a disagreement. Sometimes it comes just because people are being passive and don't like each other no more, don't have any things in common, etc. But in the midst of those disagreements, you said earlier, it's important for you to tell them the parts of them that you still admire, the parts of them that you still like. I think that's a strong point. And I recall myself saying some of those things just on last week. And it does feel edifying. It actually brings agreement. It actually brings a connection. It actually brings dialogue. It actually brings understanding. It brings more patience. But it requires you to, what you're really doing is you're saying, honey, I know we're in a disagreement. And I know this thing is big and it's blown up and it's hot. But that's just a small portion of our relationship. I married you because of this. I love you because of this. I like what you do over here. That's why you're in my life. That's why I need you. That's why I can't do without you. That's what you do for me. That now you begin to make the problem much smaller. Right? And that's very proactive. That's very proactive to start pouring in positivity, knowing that as you're doing that, you're really speaking the real. You're speaking the truth. Not only is it good for you to say, but it's good for her to hear. Not only is it good for her to say, but it's good for him to hear. And so lifting, one another up is so important, even in the midst of, these challenging situations that we're in. That's a part of great communication, and I don't think it could be said any better than that. There are a lot of reasons that we lack communication, just personal differences. Right, we see things differently, and maybe there's an opportunity for us to start seeing things the same. It takes communication. Busy lifestyles. Sometimes the issue happened, and we just didn't have an opportunity to talk about it yet because everybody's so on the move and busy, and then it fades away. It doesn't disappear. It just fades to black, and it just it sits in your spirit, and you don't talk about it. And the next time a heated discussion comes up, you're going to blow up about it. You're going to mention it, and they're going to think it's gone, or they're not going to want to talk about it, right? Sometimes it's resentment relating to other interpersonal differences, right? You resent the person because of how they treated you, or what they did, or what they said, is some of the reasons for lack of communication. Hiding feelings. This is a big one, right? Hiding feelings. And you can kind of hide the feeling. You can hide the thoughts, but I don't think you can hide the feelings, right? They don't know why you're acting the way you're acting because you haven't told them, but they can absolutely see that something is wrong, okay? And so hiding feelings is another major reason for lack of communication. And, you know, in order to communicate, you really have to some degree feel like you are comfortable with that person to more or lesser degree, right? And the more that you can feel like you're comfortable with that person, I'm imagining what's happening in the back of one's mind is they're saying, I know this person didn't want to hurt me. I know this person loves me. I know this person got my back. But we still got this issue, right? You know, so, you know, hiding your feelings does not help a relationship. But communicating wrongly doesn't help it either. And that's where you got to, you know, take that idea, understand your feelings, put it in a drawer, pray over it, and then come back to it so that you can share with it how you feel. Here's one thing that happens in a relationship that really challenges this whole communication thing, is that something will happen in a relationship and I'm mad about it, but I don't communicate it. And it festers and it hurts and it's painful. And the point that I want to make here is that the person who is upset is the only person hurting. The person who is mad and not conveying their concern or being quiet on the matters and hiding their feelings, they are the only person that's in pain. Because they're stressed with it, they're struggling with it, they think about it all the time, they don't know what to do with it. And that's for those of us who may be hiding some feelings. Any person in a relationship, and you're hiding some feelings, you're the only one who's hurting. You must know that, right? And not that you necessarily want them hurting, but you got to find a way to stop yourself from hurting. You got to stop the bleeding. And the sooner you can do it, the sooner you will feel better. Because hurt feelings in your relationships don't just hurt the relationship. It hurts your potential. Your overall life's potential. It hurts your overall joy. It hurts your peace and peace of mind. It hurts you in a way that it steals something from you. That keeps you diminished in life. And so you got to deal with those hurt feelings. And that goes for everybody. If you've been done wrong or you had a 20-year disagreement with your parents or whatever, that you got to find a way to get that out of your spirit because it's hurting you. It's dampening your spirit. It's lessening your ability to see and see forward. Isn't that powerful, man?
It is.
It's super powerful, bruh.
It's so powerful. It reminded me of a couple conversations I had with several different people. And they was telling me about how they want to be married, and if they had a husband, they would do this, and they had a husband, they would do that. And I had to stop them and made them realize that they were strong before a husband ever came along. They had made great decisions before they ever thought about having to have a man. But yet you want to go there because it's a comfortability of having a comfortable person to make you feel good. But the bottom line, you have made great things happen. Never give up on self. You starting to get into a thing where I want this, but understand you. Because if you want a man, it's not about getting a man, it's about being the best you. Because when you become great, I promise you attract great things. But when you think that's what I have to have, that means for a lesser fulfillment in you. I don't never want a woman to feel like that's what's going to fulfill. God gave you the fulfillment to live your destiny in a way that you are to be a positive vessel. Get back to your positive and not this negative, because I promise you, he will come because he's going to see that energy. What makes you attract to a great person is great things when they keep pushing great things in you. My whole thing is I'm seeing so much negativity. It's hard for us to see what's really in you when all I see is the negative.
Let me speak on that, Jay. That's rich right there. This is what it brings to mind. that, and it's so powerful. You said it right on the money. We have to take care of ourselves, right? And I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking to the man and the woman. We have to take care of ourselves. A lack of communication can tear you down.
Correct.
It can have you doubting your own self because of what's going on in that relationship. And it's very important that you take care of yourself. Okay? And what that ultimately means is that I can't allow the disagreement I'm having with my significant other to make me feel bad about myself. I have to stand in the gap and say, hey, I done achieved a lot of stuff. I done been there, I done done that. This disagreement is just a disagreement, but it ain't stopped who I am. It ain't stopped the go-getter that I am. It ain't stopped the loving person and caring person that I am. It ain't stopped any of that. And so at a certain point, and it's edifying for both parties to do this, is to stand in the gap and say, okay, I'm okay with who I am. No matter what's going on, I'm okay with who I am. It's difficult to deal with these things with my significant other because ultimately what is happening is I have leaned on them for X, Y, and Z for so long, and now when I can't lean on them anymore, it makes me feel insufficient. I leaned on them, but now I realize I can't count on them, or I can't, get through the communication. And so, what am I going to lean on now? You got to lean on yourself. You got to pick yourself back up every day. You got to walk out and you just had a heated argument the morning before you left to work. And when you get in the car, you got to put on your favorite song and you got to put a smile on your face and you got to say it's going to be a great day no matter what. I'm not going to let that affect my day because it'll tear you down. And even though the issue that's happening in your relationship may be important and it may be taxing and all of that good stuff, nothing is going to happen without your sense of self being strong. Right? You can't bring a piece of self back to this relationship because you're depressed or you're mad or you're upset or you're sad or you're worried or whatever. You got to bring a whole self back to the relationship every single day. And so this just a great word to the wise that we're taking care of ourselves is so important in the midst of disagreement and arguments. And I mean it to I really mean for anybody hearing this to really start to you can't let the situation destroy who you are. That's the point I'm making, right? Be strong because they need you to be strong. They need you to get up and pick yourself up and bring a whole person back to dinner that next night. To bring a whole person back to that next conversation. Not the same person of the last conversation, but a whole person. Not a person diminished and don't want to fight anymore and don't want to have an argument. Come back with the same zeal and the same zest that you had the first time you had this issue. That's what we all need, even in the midst of disagreement and pain and struggles in a relationship. That is what we need. And I think that's a great way to put a cap on this show, man. Any closing words for us, Jay?
Yes. For any of you want to tell somebody about how you feel about them, please understand. Give it to them in a way that they're going to see it differently than what you just want to say it. How I'm going to break that back down is real simple. Is when I tell somebody about what I see in them, it's not for I can get over on them. It's just how I view them. It's going to be one of the most difficult things you might want to do because it's going to be the most realest thing that they ever want to hear. Tell them real, how they handle a situation, but you remembered it. When you do this, they'll let you know that you're really seeing into them. So please, this is for the players that want to go out there and play games. Understand the game.
There you go.
Live it real, tell it for real, and then they can see you for a real person. Game is just being played with other people want to play it. My whole thing is I'm going to give you real about what I see because it might enhance you to see that somebody see the great things in you, but you can be the great person I want you to be. That's what this world needs.
It is. And, at that point, one of the other things that we'll close out with this, you got to be willing to take some constructive criticism.
That's true.
Right? There's some things on my heart now that I feel like I could have done a lot better. I could have said a lot less. I could have said a lot more. I could have said a lot differently. I could have dealt with it differently. And I'm recalling them and correcting myself. I'm recalling them and repenting, so to speak. So constructive criticism has to be a way of life, especially in a relationship, because iron does sharpen iron. And, that's just the way it works. So, let's close out with this. We want to thank you folks for being here with us tonight. This has been a fantastic dialogue about the lack of communication. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we certainly appreciate you being here. We are here every week, Thursdays 7 to 9, Facebook Live. We've been here every single week almost for 4 years. And, we're going into nearly the second quarter of our 5th year. Mm-hmm. So, y'all stay tuned. Continue to like us, share us, subscribe, like us, share us, subscribe, and continue to pour this message out to other people so that they may have an opportunity to hear some of this great wisdom and some of this real life perspective on what might be happening in their own minds and spirits. So with that, we will say we are out.
Ain't no last calls here.
Bar Talk with Jay.